I'm Mackayla. Welcome to Soundtrack of Our Lives podcast. We're going to jump right in with the two hardest questions of all. Who are you and what have you been up to recently?
I'm Turner Cody. I'm a singer-songwriter. I have a new album on its way out. I have a single that came out a few weeks ago. And besides that, I'm just living in the Midwest in America, taking care of my kid. So,
Nice.
so that's good.
Yeah, so you have a new album coming out. How exciting!
Yeah. So wait, I can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Where who are you? Where are you?
Yeah, so I am Mackayla Wiseman. I'm just outside of Boston, the Boston area.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually from Boston.
Really?
Yeah. Where are you?
Winchester. It's a little bit north of Boston.
You're kidding.
No.
I'm from Winchester.
Really?
Yeah, I grew up in Winchester.
My dad did too. Do you know the Wiseman family?
Maybe.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I lived in Boston when I was a little kid.
Hmm.
We moved to Winchester in I think like 82, and I lived on our house was on 94 Church Street.
I know exactly where that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
And I
up
went,
by the Vincent Owen School.
okay. Were you born there? Did you live there?
Yeah, born and still live there now. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, this is crazy.
That is crazy. What are the chances?
I have no because I didn't honestly I got the thread from my label for this, but I
Hmm.
didn't know anything about you or anything about this. So I asked them to give me some background, but no one wrote me back. So
That's not helpful.
not your fault. But I mean, yeah, so it turns out we lived in the same town in Boston.
Wow.
We could just talk about that, really.
That's crazy.
So or did you because I went to Ambrose.
I went to Vincent Owen.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I remember I used to drive past Vincent Owens because I went to, maybe this isn't interesting for anyone, but whatever. I mean, anyway, so yeah, I lived in Winchester. I went to elementary school there and middle school, and then I went to private school. I went to Belmont Hill.
Oh, nice. That's a nice school.
Yeah. But then I whatever. I moved to New York when I was 18 and I haven't been back. My parents moved away from Winchester, so I haven't been back there. But I mean, I don't know. Can you tell me anything about I mean, how old are you? I don't even know
I'm 24.
okay, so I'm 44. So the Winchester that I remember is it maybe doesn't even resonate with you. I don't even know. I could ask you questions, but
Go for it.
I don't know. I don't even know what to ask because do you go to the Fells Way?
Hmm.
Yeah, I used to go there with my parents. The fun what the Boston the thing is I don't know if the Boston and the Winchester even that I grew up in the 80s and the 90s was really the it was still the Boston of Whitey Bulger.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And Winchester was kind of the maybe the somewhat upper crust of the suburbs.
Oh, it
But
still is.
well, it is crazy now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But everything has changed now because back when I was growing up, the Winchester was still a fancy suburb, but you didn't have to go very far before you got into what was the Whitey Bulger territory,
Hmm.
Somerville and stuff. I mean, when I go back there now, it doesn't it's not at all like it used to be.
Hmm.
Yeah, Austin's really changed a lot.
It has. Even in my lifetime, it's crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, when I was I remember the 80s and the early 90s, and it was really a different place. And I mean, I moved to New York City in 1999. So you were not even born.
No.
And so the Winchester that I remember that I left was still of the 80s and the 90s. But I came back because I went to college briefly in 2000, and then I came back and I lived with my parents at 94 Church Street. And it used to be actually, you know what? I can show you the house because it doesn't look like it used to.
Hmm.
I don't know if you know the house now. It's
Vaguely, yeah.
like a big fancy house. That's the house where when I lived there.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty similar to now.
Yeah, but it was kind of I mean, even the fancy parts of Winchester back in the 80s, it was kind of falling apart a little bit. It was kind of I don't know, shabby chic Victorian or something. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, right. But so yeah, so I moved back with my parents in like 2001 or 2000 between my no 2001 like right before 9/11.
Hmm.
I was living in Winchester that summer, and that was the last time I lived in Winchester.
That's the summer I was born.
Okay. And I worked at my first one of my first jobs in the service industry was I worked at Lucia's.
Yep,
Is it still there?
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, because
So
they have
yeah,
one in Boston too. They have a couple locations.
right. Well, the Boston locations was those were his kind of signature places, but he opened a place in Winchester because he moved to Winchester.
Hmm.
And he opened a place right downtown so he could I guess have a place of his own in the town where he lived. And I got a job there the summer of 2001, and I worked at Lucia's, and it was really cool. I mean, have you been there?
I have. It's still really popular.
Yeah, it is a
Really
great,
good.
and
Yeah.
I tell people about it all the time because he had like it was a classic Italian place with like the photos of him
Hmm.
with everybody, but then they had like the Sistine Chapel on the ceiling. I don't know if you've ever. Next time you go to Lucia's, look up and well, I mean, assume it's the same, but
Hmm.
they have the Sistine Chapel on the ceiling, and then they have like actually like a Michelangelo, like a dummy, an actual dummy character of a 3D dummy of Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel.
Really? I've
Yeah.
never noticed that.
Yeah, well, next time you go, look it. I'm sure it's the same. He hasn't
Yeah, I'll
changed.
definitely have to check that out.
Check it out. So yeah, so I worked at Lucia's that summer, and then I went back to college, and then 9/11 happened, and then I moved back to New York City after 9/11, and that was really the last time I was in Winchester because my parents sold that house and they moved, and anyway, but I
Hmm.
mean that's crazy that
That's
you have
so
that.
such a small world. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's yeah. Wow.
Anyway, so yeah, that's I mean, you know what? Like I never really felt like all that at home in the Boston area, but I don't really know what's going on anymore. It seems like I don't know, is it fun for you? I mean, like did you
I
go to
like it.
college? Yeah. You
Yeah.
go to college around there or?
I went to Stonehill, which is south of Boston.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there like stuff going on? I mean, like you go out to shows and stuff?
Yeah, Boston, there's a pretty good music scene going on in Boston. Yeah.
Okay. Like what? Like what kind of stuff do you go see?
They have everything.
Yeah. So in the late 90s, it was different because like I used to go to like open mics and stuff in Cambridge, and there was this place I went in Acton called the Acton Jazz Cafe because my I had a teacher at Belmont Hill who like because I started writing songs when I was like a sophomore in high school,
Hmm.
and I started like smoking pot and stuff, and I somehow I got into my head that I would was gonna be like a singer songwriter and like not because I went to like a private school, like you're
Hmm.
supposed to go to college and do that thing, and
Yeah.
I somehow got in my head at some point like junior senior year that I wasn't gonna do that and that I was gonna become a singer songwriter, which was like really in like the time and the place where I was at in the late 90s, and growing up like upper middle class in Winchester and going to private school, it was like people just didn't really do that kind of thing.
Yeah. Belmont Hill's not really known for its singer-songwriter.
No, it's not. It's not like a no. It's more like finance, kind of
Yeah.
finance lacrosse type thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was kind of just like a weird series of events that led me to decide to do what I did, and it wasn't like I was like some kind of crazy kid. I mean, whatever. But anyway, so I had this teacher, and we used to like play songs together, and he still plays around Boston, I think. But yeah, he's the guy. He introduced me to Towns Van Zandt and stuff. And do you know Towns Van Zandt?
Hmm.
So yeah, so I started doing these open mics with him at the Acton Jazz Cafe, and I would like drive out to Acton and like my junior senior year in high school, and then I started going to this place in Cambridge called the Cantab Lounge. I doubt it's still there, and they had open mics and stuff. And I'd gone through like the whole college process and everything, but like something just wasn't really clicking with me with that whole thing, and like you know my parents, I think, like really expected me to just do what was expected of me and
Hmm.
everything. Why wouldn't they have expected that? But I mean, what Winchester is like. And Boston. I mean, at least back when I was a kid, it's a it's not like a bohemian. I don't think of it as like a bohemian place.
No.
It's a pretty, it's a, there's like, there's Cambridge, like there's an academic element of Boston,
Yeah.
but it's also, it's like a real kind of like, it's a middle class, working class, kind of like to some degree, provincial place,
Hmm.
So anyway, so yeah, so I was playing these open mics and stuff, and I had gone through the oh yeah, I had gone through the college application process and everything, and because I think it was unheard of for someone in my position to like not kind of step up to the plate and do that thing, and
Hmm.
I kind of was, and I was good at school too. That's the other thing. Like I wasn't like the like a rebel with the folk with the acoustic guitar thing. I was actually pretty good at school too. Anyway, so I was playing at the Cantab Lounge, which was like it was in Central Square, I think. It was
Hmm.
pretty cool. It was kind of a divey place. Had like a maybe like a slightly dangerous divey quality about it.
Hmm.
And I had planned to take time off before college to play open mics around Boston. And the other thing that happened is that I was like had a girlfriend in New York City. Like that's, so I had like met this girl who lived in New York. And I was playing at the Cantab Lounge, and this guy came up to me, and this was like, so this is like maybe July or August of 1999,
Hmm.
and he told me that I looked like this guy named Paleface who played at this club in New York in the East Village called the Sidewalk Cafe, and he told me that like the kind of way I was playing and my songs kind of was like would maybe fit at this place, the Sidewalk Cafe. And I had this girlfriend in New York, and somehow this guy telling me this, and the fact that I had met this girl who lived in the West Village, it seemed just like it was. I mean, I was 18 years old, so I wasn't like preparing for life at this
Hmm.
point, like maybe kids do now, or that I wasn't prepared to make like responsible choices.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
I feel like no 18-year-old is.
No, maybe not. I don't know how, I work with young kids now, and, because I work at like a restaurant and stuff. But I don't know if like kids were quite as reckless as we were because like our parents were all like, from the 60s and stuff. And like they brought us up to believe that like we could just do whatever we wanted and it would work out for us.
Hmm.
So like they kind of like expected us to be kind of reckless and do dumb things, but maybe not quite as reckless as what I was planning to do with my life. So anyway, so this guy gave me this tip about the Sidewalk Cafe and said I looked like this guy and that I would really fit in there. So I decided in like the summer of '99 that I was not going to live in Boston and play and then go to college, but I was going to move to New York and move in with my girlfriend, and she lived at home, so I was living with her parents. And I was going to find out about this place, the Sidewalk Cafe. So that was really like my that's what like led me from Winchester to New York City.
Hmm.
And so I did. I moved in with her and her parents, and then I went to the Sidewalk and I went to the open mic there. And that kind of was like the beginning of my musical journey, really. I don't know if do you know like the Moldy Peaches? Do you know about them?
Sounds familiar, yeah.
They were like they're a pretty famous band. They're like in indie folk from the late 90s, early 2000s. And the Sidewalk was kind of like the place where they played
Hmm.
and where there was this kind of it was kind of like a gritty folk music called anti-folk. It was kind of like I don't know. It was in the 90s there was kind of like a songwriter music that was like coffee house folk.
Hmm.
If you know like it's kind of like Jewel, Jewel.
Hmm.
It's kind of like that kind of Ani DeFranco. There was kind of like a folk scene in the 90s, but this was more like a folk music with an edge.
Okay.
So it was a little bit more like I don't know if you know like Daniel Johnston or K Records. I mean, Beck,
Hmm.
singer Beck.
Yeah.
So he actually came out of the Sidewalk, or he spent time there in like the mid 90s. So if you listen to Beck's like earlier stuff, it has this kind of like acoustic folk, but it's kind of edgy and kind of poetic and stuff.
Hmm.
So the kind of music that they were playing at this place, the Sidewalk. And yeah, so anyway, and I don't know if you know like Jeffrey Lewis. Do you know him?
Sounds familiar. Yeah, I think so.
So Jeffrey Lewis and the Moldy Peaches were really like the most famous people to come out of there, and also Regina Spektor, but her stuff is a little different than anti-folk. But yeah, so anyway, so I moved there and I immediately met like the Moldy Peaches and Jeffrey Lewis and all these other people and stuff. And this was like, 99, 2000. And yeah, and that was kind of the beginning of my time in New York City and writing songs, and it was a much different time. I mean, things were so different back then.
Yeah.
I sound like an old guy now talking about this, but there was really no internet. We would make our albums and stuff, but we would sell this. We would have the album, we would sell them on CDs and stuff. So
Hmm.
we'd take the master and we would take it to, like, back then you had like these places that, or there was actually one in right off Boylston Street that I went to a few times. It was basically like they made CDs.
Hmm.
And so I would, it was like for $100 you get like 500 CDs. And then we used to, so we'd get the CDs and then we get the jewel cases. We'd have to buy those separately.
Oh,
And then, so this is like the jewel cases that the real ones with like the plastic ones. Do you know even what I'm
yeah,
talking
I
about?
do.
You know what a CD is,
I
right?
do. I collect. I have so many CDs. I have a CD player.
Okay. I know. I was kidding when I said that, but I'm assuming you knew what they were.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we would have the plastic, and then we would go to Kinko's. There was a Kinko's in Astor Place in the East Village,
Hmm.
and I would like make my artwork, and then I would copy it at Kinko's. We all did this. It was like kind of what we did. So we would have the artwork and then we would have the jewel case and we would have to, like, we would make all of the CDs by hand,
Yeah.
whatever. It's not that amazing. It's just a little story about what we did. But we'd have to, like, because it was actually hard to lift the jewel tray out and then you'd have to fold it so it fit right in.
Mm.
Yeah, and so my first like 4 or 5 records I did that way. And I don't know if this is
It
interesting or
is. It's how you got into music and started making music.
yeah, it is. Yeah.
It is interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, I spent like, years touring in Europe. I'm going on tour in February with Adam Green from the Moldy Peaches. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I think like I'm still doing what I set out to do when I was 18 living in Winchester, whatever.
I mean, that's awesome. Not too many people can say that.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Are you do this podcast? I mean, like, but you're a music fan?
Yeah, I wish I could be a musician, but I'm not talented at that. So, I help out in the ways I can in the music industry.
Okay. And it seems to me that is there like kids are into folk music or like singer-songwriter music or that kind of thing or country music, and are there open mics? I feel like it's maybe like more of a thing now than it was back then. I don't know.
It definitely is. I think after COVID, people were really like, we want to get back out and just do more things with other people. So then open mics became more popular.
Okay.
So you said you're going on tour soon?
Yeah, I'm going to Europe. I'm opening up for Adam Green, who's the lead singer of the Moldy Peaches. So the Moldy Peaches, I don't know, you should check them out. Like they're kind of like the quintessential early 90s indie folk music.
Okay.
They're pretty famous. I mean, like they broke up before they kind of broke through in a huge way.
Mm.
But I mean the biggest thing that they did, it was kind of after they broke up, but do you know that movie Juno?
Yes,
Okay,
I
so
do.
so basically like it was a duo, Adam and Kimya, and they were a songwriting duo. So Kimya's music is the soundtrack of Juno.
Wow.
And the big hit from Juno was a song called I don't know, it's called like Nobody Else But You or something. But
Yeah.
that was a Moldy Peaches song.
Wow.
So what happened was the Moldy Peaches were so this is what happened. So I moved to New York in 99. In 2000, the Moldy Peaches started to like something started to happen. But to like understand their music, you have to understand about like kind of like 90s indie folk and stuff. Like
Hmm.
Daniel Johnston is really like kind of a key guy, or I don't know, do you know the the Violent Femmes. Do you know the Violent Femmes?
Yes, I do.
So I mean, beneath like kind of adjacent to like the grunge
Mm-hmm.
thing in the 90s, or Sebadoh. There's all kinds of like indie folk music, which is basically like the same sensibility that they brought to grunge and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
more like acoustic guitars. So it was lo-fi, a lot like all, done on 8-track recordings and stuff. And acoustic. I mean, Elliott Smith was another name that would
Mm-hmm.
fall into that. I mean, he got pretty famous and stuff. So that was kind of like this thing that was going on in the 90s beneath the, you know, on like a kind of a lower level that people didn't know about beneath the grunge stuff. And Daniel Johnston was really like the kind of the prophet of this type of music. And he made all these records on a 4-track, and he would make tapes, and he would copy the tapes like one by one, and he would hand out these tapes he would do the artwork for each tape. In other words,
Mm-hmm.
like, he wouldn't copy them. And he would hand them out. And he lived in Austin. And so like this kind of reputation grew around him. And it's a really long story. He got the Butthole Surfers gave him acid, and he went crazy. But there's a movie about it. You should watch it. So anyway, so this kind of like acoustic indie rock acoustic music was like kind of already a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So by like 99 2000, the Moldy Peaches were like a thing in New York City, in like the East Village. They were like the cool band, because people knew about this kind of music. And Adam and Kimya had lived out in Washington, and so they had the kind of like this, grunge indie credentials and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But then like 4 or 5 blocks south of where the sidewalk was this place called the Mercury Lounge.
Yep.
And that's where the Strokes were like starting to get really big at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So the Strokes and the Moldy Peaches were kind of like becoming cool in the East Village around the exact same time. And we didn't really kind of like interact with the rock and roll scene so much,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the folk scene. But but because they were kind of both, getting popular, they ended up both getting signed to Rough Trade Records at the same time in like early 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And so the kind of the attention that ended up getting. I mean, did you see that movie, Meet Me in the Bathroom, about?
No, but I know the premise. Yeah.
So if you watch that, like the Moldy Peaches and Adam Green they're in the movie. They're
Hmm.
like, a lot of them. I mean, I should be talking about myself, but I'm just talking about, my more famous friends and stuff. But anyway, so that was what was happening at the time. And it was exciting for me because, it's exciting to be around that kind of thing,
Yeah.
even though like it wasn't happening to me. It was happening to like my friends and stuff. And it was cool. Like it kind of felt like it was what I thought was going to happen when I kind of moved to New York from Winchester. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I it happening like that. I probably imagine it happening to me, but it was close enough. You know what I
Right.
mean? So yeah, so that's cool that when things happen the way you think they're going to,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere along the line, it things changed, but that's just life.
Yeah.
But that was the story of the early 2000s in New York and all that.
So, with your tour to Europe, is there anywhere that you're super excited to visit?
Oh, have you ever been to Europe?
I've not. I really want to go.
You should go. It's all great over there. I mean, it's fun for Americans to go to Europe, especially for the first time, because
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's not, it's Western, so there's kind of the same people on the same wavelength, more or less,
Yeah.
but the values and it's just a different lifestyle. Everything's beautiful in a way that we're not used to, and people are really good at things that we're not good at, like just drinking coffee and talking and smoking cigarettes and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're so much more fast paced here.
Yeah, we don't have the same the same. We have like a different value system.
Yeah.
I started going to Europe in, I think like maybe, I think the first time I went was like 2004 because I made friends with this French band. So like after, yeah, so I was living down in like the dregs of Brooklyn
Mm-hmm.
because I lived in the West Village. I broke up with that girl that I moved to New York with,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was living in the East Village, and then somehow I ended up in like the part of Brooklyn which is like because you know how like now Brooklyn is really cool.
Yeah.
That you know about how Brooklyn's cool, right?
Yeah.
That. So anyway, but this part of Brooklyn that I lived in, it wasn't cool then, and it's still not cool. It's the only part of Brooklyn that probably will never be cool because it's like just so far away and hard to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Called Bensonhurst. And I was living there in 2002. Various kind of things were going on. It was like it was a dark time. It was, right after 9/11. It was like there was a lot of like strange vibes in the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard to explain, but like, I mean, where you were born in like 98 or something?
2001.
All right, okay. So what happened was that like everything seemed like it was cool and fine and like people had like Apple computers and stuff and like Clinton was president and like the worst thing that happened was that like Bill Clinton had an affair in the Oval Office. That was like the biggest scandal of the time, but everything was like going the way it was supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the first school shooting happened in April of 1999. And that was like the kind of the first sense that like something wasn't going to be the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I mean in looking back it's clear, but even at the time for me at least it felt like there was I don't know, it's like you ever see the never ending story?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, the nothing. It was
Yeah.
like that, kind of felt like that. I mean, again, it wasn't so obvious, but I felt something weird. So that happened, and then 9/11 happened, and then there was just like just the years after 9/11 were just strange because it was I don't know, it was just weird. It was
Mm-hmm.
strange, but then it was leading up to the financial crisis and like all these things just kept on happening
Yep.
that kind of like defied everyone's expectations and changed the narrative. But so anyway, so 2002 for me personally was like a weird dark time, and I was living in Bensonhurst in Brooklyn, and nothing was really going on for me. I was working kind of shit jobs and stuff, and I was like still making records, but I wasn't like getting successful or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But then these guys from France came to play because like the Moldy Peaches got really big in Europe and everyone like so it was really really cool to come hang out at the Sidewalk Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say it was like CBGBs or anything like that because it wasn't really that big of a deal, but in its own way it was kind of like that. Whereas like people who just would hang out there would become like characters that
Mm-hmm.
people from like Germany would come to see. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So it was kind of like that. And again, it wasn't like as big a thing, but it was in its own way, it was like that. So anyway, so these French guys came, they were a French band, like a French indie rock band, and they came to check out the Sidewalk and to also like make a record with this guy who I was actually living with in Bensonhurst, and who's like a producer or had a home studio.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up making friends with the French guys, and the situation at this guy's house was pretty let's just say it was kind of rock and roll,
Mm-hmm.
it's like maybe like too rock and roll. And the French guys like saved me from the like the rock and roll, like the too rock and roll
Yeah.
kind of stuff that was going on. And they like whisked me away from Bensonhurst and they took me on tour with them in France in 2003. And we made like records and stuff and then I became friends with them and like I started making albums with them and that was kind of like that was what my life was for like 4 or 5 years in the early 2000s up until like the 2010 2011.
Mm-hmm. So, do you speak French?
No, I never learned French. It's hard. It's very hard. It's a very hard language. And everyone speaks English there. Well,
Mm,
they but I was a musician, so I kind of like because the French don't like it if you don't speak French. But I found ways to get around it. You know what I mean? I it somehow worked out for me that
yeah,
I could do. I don't know how, but I didn't learn it. And but I would go there all the time. I mean, I would go there like two times a year, sometimes more when I was in my early mid 20s.
wow,
Had so I was kind I've been very lucky in my life, like in some ways, not others, but like but yeah, I was lucky and a lot. I mean, again, like it's kind of all part of it is all just due to me having the good friends and like the right friends. You know, if
yeah,
it wasn't for the Moldy Peaches getting big in Germany, no one would have cared to come to the sidewalk, and then I wouldn't have met the French guys. And but I spent lots of time in Paris, and it's a very romantic place, you know. And to a young kid and a young American in his 20s who has like aspirations of like being a poet and stuff.
hmm,
Paris is like it's where you want to be. You know what
yeah.
I mean? There's like a lot of good things about it that you're not going to get even in New York. So it's I can say that I experienced Paris like in all the ways that one would want to.
That's good.
Yeah, yeah, it was good. It was nice, and also just France in general. And I spent time in Germany. I've been through all of Western Europe, you know, so I know
Wow.
it pretty well. Even more than like even a lot of bands now. I mean, I don't know. I think bands still go to Europe, but it's not quite the same because like it seems to me that there's a lot of great singer-songwriters now who are like a lot younger than me who tour around America. I mean, the scene here is better than it used to be.
Hmm,
People like it wasn't like singer-songwriter music wasn't that popular for a long time.
yeah,
But now we've got like really, you know, successful singer-songwriters and stuff who are pretty famous because you got like the whole country thing. And
yep,
so there's a pretty viable touring network
yeah,
here, you know. But it wasn't like that before. Or at least it didn't. At least if it was, like I didn't experience it.
yeah,
But so, yeah, so for us, like the experience, the equivalent experience to that was kind of traveling throughout Europe,
hmm,
and it wasn't like we were playing to big crowds all the time, but like you know that was my like that was my formidable time on the road. Essentially, was going through like Germany and France and Spain and like Austria.
hmm,
It was cool. I mean, you know, it's not like playing like a honky tonk in Austin, but it's still it has its own perks.
yeah. It's different.
It's different. Yes, that's a good word for it. And then and then I had a song in like a French movie,
Oh
like a
wow.
big French movie. Yeah, it was actually nominated for an Oscar, but
Did it win?
no, it was nominated for Best Foreign Film, but it lost to a movie called The White Ribbon. So this was like 2000 and this is a little later,
Hmm.
2000. But I mean, you know, like it was pretty big. It was a pretty big movie.
That's
Um,
exciting. That's really cool.
yeah, it was cool. It was I wish that kind of thing would happen now. It would help out my Spotify numbers, but this was before streaming and
Yeah.
even before Instagram, believe it or not. So when that kind of thing would could happen, but still be a kind of like a drop in the bucket.
Hmm. And now it wouldn't be.
I don't think so. No, now it would be something to capitalize on,
Yeah.
yeah, or to somehow use to your benefit in a way that it was harder at that time because the industry was like, you know, it didn't change overnight, you
Yeah.
know. I mean, it was like the kind of the frog and the boiling frog metaphor. You know, it was, I mean, we were still making CDs and stuff well, we still do. But even though the writing was on the wall with streaming and with the internet, things didn't shift immediately. So
Hmm.
the industry was still kind of behaving as if it was the late 90s,
Yeah.
even into you know, the early aughts. But there was no, it was clear that the bottom was dropping out. But even for a period of time, you know, you could still make some money on licensing and stuff. It
Hmm.
was a little bit more of a wide open market. So some of the success that I had was through licensing and stuff and like getting my songs out there in various places. that's just it seems to have changed. It seems to have continued to change even more profoundly.
Hmm.
I mean, again, it's like it's hard to know when the curtain really dropped on everything.
Yeah, and it's still changing all the
Seems
time.
like it, yeah. It's hard to really keep up, you know. Sometimes I just feel like I became old very quickly and I don't even know what happened. It's like I was young recently, but that's how it goes, you know.
Hmm.
But the good thing about being a songwriter is like you can still kind of be cool and be like
Yeah,
so yeah, so that's my new plan. You know what I'm saying?
I like it.
You like that? Good.
I
I'm
do.
glad. I got one seal of approval.
Sure, you've got more than one.
Yeah, I got more than one. But yeah, so whatever. I'm gonna keep writing songs and making records and yeah, and I have a cool label. They're from Belgium and they're cool band and stuff and you know,
Yeah, so for somebody who wants to see you in Europe, what could they expect from a show?
well, I mean, I'm playing with my band, the Soldiers of Love. So it's like, kind of rock and roll. I don't know. What was the last show you saw?
Um, oh, it was no, yeah, last week.
Okay.
Was it last week? I don't know. It was my friend was really into this. I don't even really remember it because I wasn't she was really into it, so I went for her.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It was more like country rock music.
Okay. That's cool.
I don't even remember who the artist was, but
Is
she
it-
was
does-
really excited to go.
Okay. Okay. Is the Middle East still there?
Yes, it is.
I played there with Adam Green in like 2000, like 2001. It
Mm-hmm.
was like maybe the only Boston show I've ever played, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, the East Coast is always like a weird place to tour.
Mm-hmm. It sucks living up in the Boston area. Not too many people come through here.
Yeah, but I feel like it's better now than it even was than it has been over the last 20 years, but it's always been like a dead zone. Even up through like Vermont and New Hampshire and Maine.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's cooler now. I don't know why I feel that way. I just get the vibe that like there's like a bunch of Gen Z kids hanging out like
Well,
who
it's a
want
big college town,
what is?
Boston.
Yes, Boston is a big college
So,
town. But even up through like New Hampshire, like my parents had a house and we used to go skiing in New Hampshire when I was a
mhm.
kid. And I don't know, maybe I'm making this up, but I just have this feeling there's like a bunch of Gen Z slackers, like with nothing to do who want to hear, who like go to house shows and stuff. Am I making that up?
Probably, I mean, I don't know the New Hampshire scene that well.
There's got to be something like
Oh,
that.
probably.
I mean, or else I'm just totally making
I
it
mean,
up.
Burlington, Vermont, I know that there's stuff going on up there.
Burlington's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Middle East was the only time I ever played. I did play, no, I played once in Cambridge, but it was like no one came. It didn't even count.
Hmm.
Yeah. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, your show. Yeah. Do you ever see Bob Dylan?
No.
Really? Oh, you should. Who was like the best show you ever saw?
Weirdly, it was a college show. I was in college. Who was it? It was Ex Ambassadors. Because it
Uh-huh.
was like a $5 ticket as a college student. I didn't know what to expect. But then
Okay,
on stage, their energy was incredible.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I have never heard of that band, but that sounds fun.
Yeah, it was really cool because, I was like, I don't know, it's $5. Why not? We'll see what happens.
Sure.
I knew like two of their songs, maybe.
Okay. Do you ever go to what used to be called Great Woods, but now I don't know what it's called. It's like where people went to see shows in Boston, like in the outdoor
Oh, yeah, I
down
know what you're
near
talking about.
down
It's
near what's it called now?
Mansfield Xfinity Center.
That's what it's called
I
now?
believe so, yeah.
Down near where the Patriots play.
Yeah, I mean, there's Gillette and then there's the Mansfield Xfinity Center.
Okay, but you never been there?
I've been to both, actually.
So it used to be called Great Woods, but it was like there's like the stage and then there's like seating under the thing and then there's like a lawn.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's probably the Mansfield Xfinity Center now.
Okay. And you've been there.
That was my first concert.
Yeah, mine too.
Really?
Yeah. I saw Neil Young there in like
Oh
90,
my gosh.
my first show. And Jewel opened for him. And
That's cool.
yeah, but we used to go see shows there all the time. It was great. I saw the Allman Brothers there. I saw Dylan there.
Wow.
Tony DeFranco opened. My first Dylan show was there. I saw Fish there. I saw Fish there in like 2000. It was a bad experience. It was right before Fish broke up. It was kind of,
Ooh.
but it was super cool. It was a great place to see shows. It was
Yeah,
like
I've only been there once.
I'm sure it's the same. It probably
Yeah.
hasn't changed that
Yeah, it's
much.
just it's hard to get there now. I mean, it
Yeah,
probably was. It's just
it's a
it's
it's a it's a tough drive from
it's a
Winchester.
hike and there's not really any like even if you go to Gillette, you can they have trains that you can take. But there's
Yeah,
really nothing at the down there.
what's Gillette? That's Foxborough.
Yeah, that's where the Patriots play.
They call it now. Okay.
Yeah.
You like football?
Yeah, I do. Big Pats fan.
They're good all of a sudden now. What happened? It's cool, right? I'm
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a Patriots fan again. I mean, the Brady years were so much fun because
Yeah, that was really cool to grow up in.
yeah, it was great. I was a Red Sox fan as a kid. I'm still a Red Sox fan, and a Bruins fan, but I didn't I wasn't into football as a kid, but I started getting into it when during the Brady years, and it was like the best. And then when he left, I was just like, whatever. What are you gonna do?
Hmm.
So, but now it's like all of a sudden they're good. But yeah, so whatever. We used to go down there and to see shows, and it was cool. Did you ever see Dazed and Confused?
No.
Watch that. But yeah, it was kind of like being in high school back before the internet times was fun because like, you could still like do things like smoke pot in your mom's car, which I'm sure kids still do, but it was somehow like no one took pictures of things
Hmm.
or like there was not even the concept of taking pictures of things or like
Yeah.
everything was just like the world that you built for yourself. You didn't have a sense that like there was some parallel universe or parallel world that you
Hmm.
were feeding your own reality into for
Yep.
for approval or reflection. It was just your own world that you created. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't know what I mean, actually. You can't even conceive of it in a way.
I mean,
You can understand it literally, but it's hard to even conceive of it. It's like trying to imagine a color that doesn't exist.
it makes sense. I grew up before people really had like cell phones or like I remember when my mom first got the Palm Pilot and the cool thing was she could do her email on it and her calendar.
Yeah,
I
you were
remember
born
when she got her first iPhone.
I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, so right, but you were a kid. I mean, whatever. I'm not. I mean, maybe you were like ahead of your time. You had a perception which was rare for a child. But being a teenager in that time was in retrospect interesting just because it was like we were the last people to do all those things and being whatever it was. But
Hmm.
anyway, but yes, so going to Great Woods was a good memory and Neil Young and
So you gonna try and book a Boston show?
I mean, I don't know, but I'm gonna have to like we have to be friends on Instagram now. So I have someone that I know who likes music in Boston area.
Hmm.
I mean, I live in the Midwest now. So it's not, I mean, I used to live in New York for a long time, but I don't know. I got a buddy and he has a van and he travels around all the time and plays shows and stuff, and I want to get back on the road with him.
Yeah.
Uh, so, maybe we'll find a way to. We were talking about going to New York next fall or next spring.
Hmm.
And yeah, I don't know, man.
I end up going to New York for a lot of shows when they don't come up to
Yeah.
Boston.
Okay. Like
Yeah.
like like what?
Just like a lot of smaller artists I know that don't, they'll hit where they're popular and not the smaller areas.
Okay.
But like
Like
my friend lives in Connecticut, so
okay,
it's
we're in Connecticut. It's okay.
Stanford.
Okay,
Stanford.
Stanford. Yeah, my uncle lives there.
Yeah, so it's
My
nice
parents are
because it's
from.
just like an hour train ride into New York.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's
That's nice.
perfect.
So where do you go see shows?
All over. We've been to different places in Brooklyn. I've been to so there's one Baby's All Right, which is
Hmm?
weird because it's like right
I know,
near.
baby. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know. I used to
it's a
work
kind
in
of a weird location though.
It is a weird look, right near the train and stuff. It's kind of like right on the other side of Williamsburg.
Hmm.
I worked in Williamsburg for like 8 years.
Really?
Yeah, I delivered pizza for like 8 years. From 2011 to 2019, I worked at this place called Vinny's Pizza on Bedford Avenue. It's still there. It was like the cool hipster pizza place. Yeah, I lived in Williamsburg
Yeah.
for a while. But yeah, I know babies. Do you ever go to Pete's Candy Store? It's a cool
No.
place. It's right in Williamsburg too.
Okay.
Like more of a very intimate acoustic type place. But
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like we don't go that often because like it's a 3 hour drive to her place from me, so it's like it's a bit of a hike to go for a show. But
sure. But like, so what are some of your favorite bands and stuff? Like, what kind of music do you like?
Much more like I'm a huge all time low fan and that kind of
Um,
scene.
yeah, I don't know them.
Yeah, I'm going to Warp Tour next weekend.
Okay.
So much more in like that is a lot of more. I mean, I listen to everything, but I feel
What
like
kind
that's more of what I'm like drawn to.
what kind of like what are some other you said like the scene, like what other kind of bands are in that scene?
So there's not. There actually most of them are not Boston bands,
Okay.
but like the Paradox, they're actually really blowing up right now, and they haven't even been a band for a year. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. What kind of music are we talking here? Like what?
Like punk rock.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, very different
Okay.
from what seems that you're into.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You like punk.
Yeah, I feel like that is what I'm mostly drawn to, but obviously, I love everything.
Sure, sure. Do you ever read Please Kill Me?
No.
Oh, you should read that.
Okay.
It's like the so they call like an oral history. It's like the oral history of the New York City in the late
Huh.
70s. The CB you've heard of CBGBs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like everyone who was involved with that going back to, the Stooges. Do you know about Lou Reed and stuff? Do you know
Hmm.
about the Velvet Underground?
Yeah.
Okay. They were like one of my favorite bands when I was your age. But yeah, so please kill me if you're interested in like rock and roll history.
Sounds,
You
yeah.
check out that book. It's
I'll
really
check
good.
that out. Yeah.
It's a fun read. It's like lots of juicy details and God. Well, that sounds fun, but it's cool to be into punk. I feel like punk music's always like thriving. There's always kids wanting to get into that kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
fun.
I feel like it's just the rebellion.
Yeah, well, all music's rebellious, but punk is like overt rebellion. Like
Hmm.
it's kind of there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. I'm a big fan of like some of the younger singer-songwriters and like the country
Mm.
song. I feel like Gen Z is pretty good with music, actually. I'm
Yeah.
impressed with the Gen Z people that I meet because it feels like you. I mean, they know a lot about different stuff. The thing about like my generation was like there was a very like prescribed, a prescribed like taste menu, meaning like there were things that were cool to like,
Hmm.
and if you part of it was like this was kind of a Gen X thing, but Gen X millennial, your personal taste was like something that was like up to be critiqued by other people who if were the gatekeepers of like if you wanted to be cool and like what
Hmm.
it and there were things that were cool and things that were not cool, and if you had to kind of like figure out what was cool, and like the Velvet Underground was cool,
Yep.
and but if you kind of like diverged at all from that, you were kind of suspect. There was like a very high bar of like what it meant. Kurt Cobain was a good example of
Hmm.
something like that. I mean, just, back in the 90s, it was like bands would it was like a kind of a it was like a shameful for them to have a song in like a commercial, just
Hmm.
for because that wasn't cool. But I find with kids now, it's like I think maybe because I mean, this is my impression, at least because I work in the service industry, so I meet younger kids and
Yeah.
stuff. I have this feeling that, like, because they're introduced to music through streaming, they have like a democratized taste menu.
Hmm.
They don't discriminate, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they'll be like, oh, my wife is a teacher, and so she finds that kids know about like Joni Mitchell or something, but then they'll also want to listen to K-pop too.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's not they don't have like a cultivated personal taste menu,
Right.
but at the same time they're like they know about Townes Van Zandt, or they can talk about things like Bob Dylan without it being having to be like a very loaded subject.
Yeah.
But I was trying to explain to these kids at my restaurant, like, because we were listening to music and we were listening to stuff which I liked, but then they like put on like John Denver,
Hmm.
and the kid was like, he was like 20-year-old kid, and we were talking about, and he was like, do you like? He's like, what about John Denver? I was like, you don't, you need, I need to explain to you why John Denver's not cool
Hmm.
before I even talk about like the music itself. Like, this is a criteria which like you may not even have like a reference points for understanding this, but if I'd have to, in other words, like the reasons I don't like John Denver are like more complicated than I have time to
Yeah.
explain. Right. So it's things like that, you know what I mean? Who were they listening to the other day? Oh, they listened to the Eagles, you know. So they
Hmm.
would go from like they would go from, Ween to the Eagles, which is like no one from my generation would do that. You know what I mean? And, like it's
Yeah.
not connections that we would make. But I like it, and I think Gen Z has a good thing with music, has a good
Hmm.
better than my
Yeah.
generation.
I think we just have access to, like, I could pull up Spotify and play any song I want. Like, I just have more access to it easily than past generations.
Yeah, and you're not trying to prove anything. Like you're not, I think like in the kind of people that I was around, there was always this like sense of like who's gonna, what kid is, what guy is gonna be in the next band that makes it big type
Hmm.
thing. So you're kind of like cultivating your own legend from the very from the kind of like from the get-go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there was a lot of kind of like play acting going on. And
Hmm.
there's something I get from the kids now. It's like they don't seem to have that same kind of thing. The flip side, like no, like they all dress like I don't even understand like how the generation dresses. It's like so weird. My wife was saying it's like she heard somewhere that like all Gen Z kids dress like they have the flu or something. You know what I mean? Like they're always like dressed in like sweatshirts and sweatpants. Like we had style. My generation, we like dressed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was never allowed to wear sweatpants out of the house, so now I'm like I don't dress like that because I was never allowed to.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah, but I know what you're saying.
you know what I mean, right?
Yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah.
No judgment, but
Yeah. It's just different.
well, the funny thing about getting older is that you're young, you're the youngest person, except for like children. You're the youngest person. Everyone's older than you until you're in your 40s, and then all of a sudden other grown-ups are younger than you.
Hmm.
Weird thing. It's just a weird thing that happens because
Yeah.
you're the youngest grown up from like your 20s. And
Yeah.
if you're in the older part of your generation like I was, you're young until you're in like your late 30s because there are no grown-ups who are younger than you.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, the younger generation comes up and they're grown-ups and they're younger than you, and then you're old very quickly. So that's what I'm like trying to process now in
That's
my
what
life.
I like working about seniors with seniors. It's like we have a guy there who's 104. So I
No
will
one is
always be young.
no one is younger than you.
Right. Like I will always be young. It's great.
Yeah. That's true. And that will always be true.
Until it's not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a line in Dazed and Confused with Matthew McConaughey's character, and he says, like, the reason I like high school girls is because I get old and they stay the same age, which I only bring up because it's like exactly what you said. It's
Yeah.
the opposite because they're old.
Hmm.
They'll always be
It's nice.
old.
I'll feel like I'll always be young, you know?
Well, I'm sure that they appreciate, I don't even know. It's a nice thing to do.
Yeah,
It's a
I
nice.
like it. It's
Um,
always interesting.
I imagine so. Imagine so in all kinds of ways. Well, I mean, I could keep talking here if you want, but
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I can ask our last question,
It has
which
to be like
yeah.
like the best interview you ever done. I'm kidding.
No, I mean it's I mean, I've never connected with someone who lived in Winchester.
I know. I mean, who
So,
would have thought? Who would have thought?
yeah. Okay, so our last question is what is the soundtrack of your life?
The soundtrack of my life?
Yeah.
Oh man. I don't even know. I don't even know what that means. Like, what do you mean?
I can give examples that other people have given.
Sure.
So somebody chose a music soundtrack, in artists, like their full discography. Somebody chose an album. People have chosen things that somebody chose, like, conversation of friends and family, things that aren't even related to music.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Yeah. I used to go into this bar. I used to work at this restaurant in like Park Slope in Brooklyn, and we would get off at like 2 in the morning. It was like the only restaurant that was open that late,
Hmm.
and it was like the place that all the restaurant people would go to at when the restaurants closed
Yeah.
because we would stay open all night till 3 in the morning. It was a pretty fancy restaurant, but it was open late. And I think I was like 23, 24, And I was living by myself in Williamsburg, and I would like take a cab home from Park Slope, and I would have, this was like before financial crisis. It was like everyone had money. I would make like 200 bucks a night doing nothing. And so I would have like cash, and I would go home in the taxi, and I would go to this bar across the street from my apartment, which was open till 4 in the morning, and and they had a jukebox there. I would just like play Hank Williams on the jukebox, and I'm like kind of just sit and drink beer and just like keep on playing Hank Williams
Hmm.
all morning or whatever, all night. It was very late. And I did this for like, like weeks on end. It was like the thing I did. I think I was like just really getting into Hank Williams at the time, but I was like really feeling it.
Hmm.
I was totally in the zone. So I went in there one time, and the bar owner was there, and he was just like kind of a pugnacious little bastard. And he I was I was drinking my beer, listening to Hank Williams. There was no one there. It wasn't like
Hmm.
I was like killing the vibe or anything. And he just he unplugged it. He
Oh.
turned off the jukebox. He like took like a handful of quarters, and he like slammed them down on the bar.
Oh no.
And and he said, "Here's your money. You're no more Hank Williams." And I was like 23 or whatever, or 20, and I was like, had some beers, and I was like feeling like rebellious or whatever. And so I was just like, I took the change, and I threw the change at the guy, and I like stomped away into the night. And that I never went back to that bar. And I never understood why a guy who owned a bar with a jukebox would not want to listen to Hank Williams.
Hmm.
Or made sense to me.
Or be mad about somebody using a jukebox.
Right. I mean, to go but I think it was like something personal with me. Like
Yeah.
I rubbed him. It was more than just Hank. It was like something about, you know, it was the whole thing just wasn't sitting right with him. He thought I was turning people off of his establishment or something. But
Hmm.
I don't know. It maybe it's like that's like the story of my life, and like just one small story. It's like I feel like somehow I'm living in that moment of like it being like 3 in the morning and listening to Hank Williams on the jukebox, and like thinking that this is what like the universe, or at least what like the world of music it really is,
Hmm.
and thinking that everyone agrees with me. Like, why shouldn't they,
Yeah.
but then all of a sudden they cut off the song halfway, and they give me my money back, and they say, get out of here. And that's really like, I don't know if somehow I don't know why that story came to mind when you asked that question, but that's the soundtrack of my life, is feeling like I'm listening to Hank Williams and having some asshole tell me that it's not the right time to listen to it.
Do you still listen to Hank Williams?
Of course.
He didn't turn you off? That's good.
Yeah, no, I'm stronger than that.
So, for all of our listeners who want to stay updated on you, hear the new album when it comes out, maybe see you on tour, where can they find you?
Well, they can go to Europe and follow me around. They can find me on Instagram, and check out all the music that I've been talking about, like the Moldy Peaches and Turner Cody, and listen to me on Spotify.
Hmm.
Yeah, and yeah, they can. I'm sure that they'll want to, buy a plane ticket and follow us around through Spain and Germany and Belgium. It's a good excuse to go to the continent.
Yeah,
Well, listen, it was really fun talking to you. I can't wait to tell my wife and my parents of the funny
I
coincidence.
know.
Uh,
Like,
would have
what
thought.
are the chances?
I don't know. I mean, we could talk about like the Mystic Lake and stuff.
I Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, there was still a Woolworths on Main Street. You know what Woolworths is?
I do. It's
There
not
was
there anymore, though.
I know it's not there, but it was there when I was a kid, and it was the actual Warbush, and then there was like a classic old soda fountain right across the
Hmm.
street on that corner. We used to, it's funny. It's like really like, when I was a kid in Winchester, it was, it was really a lot closer to probably what the earlier 20th century was.
Hmm.
And I remember when the Starbucks got there with the Starbucks replaced, maybe it didn't, but well, whatever. But the Starbucks was it was originally called Coffee Connection, and that was like supposed to be the big bourgeois coffee place. But who knew what was coming? Oh man, I don't want to not be paying all that much attention to what I'm saying, but this is not interesting to anyone besides me and you. So anyway, go Winchester High. Are they still the Sachems or did they get rid of it?
No, they got rid
Yeah,
of it
yeah,
because
yeah, I
it's,
know
yeah, they
exactly.
got a BPC.
What are they
Now,
now?
the red and black, they don't even have a mascot.
They couldn't even come up with anything, so
No.
they just called it the colors.
Yeah. I mean, I graduated as a sachem.
You went to Winchester High?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of wish I'd gone to. I probably should have stayed in public school, to be honest. It was probably I should probably shouldn't have gone to like all boys private school. I feel like my life would have been more logical if I had just been in a band and like had a girlfriend, like hung out in the parking lot type thing.
Yeah.
I never had that high school experience. It was like I had this like weird Dead Poet Society type thing, except it wasn't Dead Poet Society. It was just like guys who played hockey and stuff.
Mm.
But in my head, it was Dead Poet
Yeah.
Society. But that didn't help me either. Um, but yeah, so that's cool that you went to Winchester High. That's cool,
Yeah. Small
man.
world. I mean, like crazy.
Yeah, well, we should just, we can just talk about I can have some nostalgia for
Yeah.
Winchester. I don't even know anyone that I grew up with anymore. Everyone drifted away. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't even know anyone from Belmont Hill anymore, really. You know, a kid in my class, his brother was one of the kids who tracked down the Boston Marathon shooter.
Wow.
Man. Well, anyway,
Yeah. Crazy.
it was really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, I don't know, like find me on Instagram or something or whatever,
Yeah.
or well, you don't have to. And good luck with everything with
Thanks.
being a music fan. So
Yeah. Have a good tour in Europe.
thank you very much. Thank you. And Reed, please kill me. I think you'll like it.
Okay, I will.
All right. Well,
Hey,
bon nuit. That's French. It means good night.
you learned some French.
Yeah, I know a few things. I know a few things.
Well, have a nice rest of your night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.